Hey, good day, good day, good day, good day, good day, everybody. Hey, thank you for joining me. Just in case you're joining me for the very first time, I am the real Brian Glaze Gibbs. I was once the problem. Now what I seek to do in my old age, be part of the solution, man. Hey, folks, listen, man. Change. Change is good. And right now, it doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. I remember right now, the person I'm about to talk about right now is, we grew up together. I first met him in, 1975. We both was in the sixth grade. I moved from Bedford-Stuyvesant to the East New York section of Brooklyn. And you know what? Right now is we lived in the same building, 455 Fountain Avenue. And even right now, probably like a month or two, I was in that building. We never spoke. His family lived on the second floor. I lived on the sixth floor in Cypress Hill houses. And one day, like we both was in the sixth grade, and I can remember I was going into the auditorium and he was coming out of the auditorium to get on the bus to go to the project. And as I was going into the auditorium, this yellow, my man Tut, he shoulder checked me, boom, knocked my books out of my hand. The average kid would have stopped, pick up the book, going to the auditorium. No, I ran after him, grabbed him in the headlock and started pounding my fist into his face. From that point on, they broke up the fight, put us back in the auditorium, and we became good friends. So you know what? Here it is right now. In the New York Times today, they got a story. In a rare move, judge changed mind after 27 years and free Brooklyn man. Judge Frederic Block said his idea about punishment had evolved since he sentenced Walter Johnson to 5 life term in 1997. At age 90, he decided to take action. In 1997, Walter Johnson stood before Judge Frederic Block in a Brooklyn federal courtroom after being convicted of robbery, cocaine possession, and witness tampering. Just the latest in a troubling series of crime that involved gun, drug, and violence. Judge Block called Mr. Johnson a street legend known as King Tut, a classic example of a person who has to be incapacitated so society is protected against you. Then he hit Mr. Johnson with 5 life sentences. On Thursday, Judge Block called the punishment he imposed 27 years ago too harsh. The product of ill-considered laws and his own inexperience, he freed Mr. Johnson, who hours later walked out of prison back into society. Judge gained insight that with the passage of time only can come with experience on the bench and their judicial maturity. Judge Block wrote in his decision granting Mr. Johnson's petition for release. He added, just like prisoners who have evolved into be better human being during a lengthy period of incarceration, judge were also involved with the passage of years on the bench. At 90, Judge Block is a senior jurist on the same federal bench in the Eastern District of New York, from which he sentenced Mr. Johnson as a second-year judge. He has seen shift in sentencing standards and wrestled with the issue enough to prompt him to publish a book last month that presents some of his past case and making an argument for revisiting overly punitive sentence. And on Thursday, he put that philosophy into action with a remarkable filing, correcting a sentence that, while lawful, he now regards as excessively harsh. That morning, Mr. Johnson, mellow at age 61 and plagued with a litany of health problems, was called to the phone on the Federal Correctional Institution in Otisville in upstate New York, where he has spent the past 16 years. He was told he would be released within an hour. Judge Block gave me a gift I never thought was coming, Mr. Johnson said by phone just after his release. In a phone interview, Judge Block called his decision the mother of all compassionate release decisions so far, and one that reflects a changing outlook on prisoners enduring their punishment long into old age. Mr. Johnson's story began decade early in a Cypress Hill public housing apartment in Brooklyn, where as a teenager he began running with robbery crews that target drug dealers. Their misdeed included sticking up an entire subway car on the F line in 1982. Mr. Johnson was convicted of robbing 300 Jehovah's Witnesses at his own mother church, and in 1983 he was convicted of holding up the passenger on a city bus. Through the mid-90s, he has amassed more than a dozen arrests and served numerous sentences in state prison on Rikers Island. Mr. Johnson was acquitted in 1993 non-fatal shooting of two off-duty New York City police officers during a robbery of a Brooklyn barbershop that had led to a shootout. Perhaps most prominently, he was questioned in connection with the shooting of the rapper Tupac Shakur outside of a Manhattan recording studio in 1994. Mr. Shakur, in his 1996 song, Against All Odds, warned, "Here we come, gunshot to Tut." Mr. Johnson denied being at the shooting. Mr. Johnson said that while he deserved to be punished, the sentence initially stunned him. "I knew I was a troublesome individual and made some mistake, but I say to myself, I can't be this guy who deserved 5 life sentences," say Mr. Johnson, who spent the first day of freedom with his wife, Notorious Johnson. In prison, Mr. Johnson's disciplinary record was stellar, say Judge Block and Maya, Mr. Johnson lawyer and a federal public defender in Brooklyn. Mr. Johnson immersed himself in prison program and helping other inmates, motivated by the attitude that even if I got to die in jail, let me be the guy who tried to make a change, he say. The judge does not realize what he did was actually one of his best lessons that ever been taught to me. He actually saved my life because when I was in society, I didn't think much of myself, Mr. Johnson said. After the first arrest at 14, Mr. Johnson said he became increasingly caught up with the violent gang and dominate street life in his neighborhood. "I was taught violence and destructive behavior," he wrote in a letter to Judge Block. "I felt like a captive of the pain, confusion, fear, and hate, and I saw on a daily basis and believed that I could only be a thug, criminal, and a gangster." In a case before Judge Block, prosecutors say that Mr. Johnson had raped a woman during a drug robbery, though he was not convicted of that. The judge say in his order that he had nonetheless weighed the accusation in his sentence. But the young lady wrote a letter to Judge Block as Mr. Johnson sought his release, saying that while the episode had a profound impact on me, she forgave Mr. Johnson, whose incarceration served as a constant reminder of a painful past, hindering my ability to fully embrace the present. Hey, listen, folks, this situation go deeper than what it is. And it just show you that God is good all the time. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Hey, hit the like button, subscribe, share, support. Shout out to Walter King Tut Johnson. And like I said right now, hey, if I can change, if Tut can change, anybody could change, because change come from where? Within. One love.